Are you wondering just what exactly is adrenal fatigue? Is it even real? Does it exist? How do you know if you have it? What are the symptoms? And why does my doctor not believe in it? Well, in this video, I'm going to be breaking down all of the principles surrounding the HPA axis, the adrenals, whether adrenal fatigue is really real or not, why doctors don't believe in it, and why the term is so controversial. Hi, my name is Dr. Joel Rosen. I am an international health coach. I help burnt out and exhausted adults all over the world learn the truth about adrenal fatigue so that they can get their energy back quickly. And today I'm really excited to be talking to you about just exactly what is adrenal fatigue, if it is even real or not, what the symptoms are, and why your doctor doesn't believe in it perhaps. But before we do that, let's just get into the number one reason as to why we go see the doctor in today's day and age. And it has to do with stress. It has to do with energy. It has to do with feeling run down and overwhelmed and burnt out and exhausted. And then we learn this thing about adrenals or adrenal fatigue if it's on your radar and you're watching this video. And then you may have learned that it's not too well received and it's not believed or it's not a real thing, and you're searching for answers. And I can certainly appreciate that because I've suffered with my own adrenal fatigue-based problem, and now it is my mission to teach the truth about adrenal fatigue. So let's talk about the adrenal gland first. The adrenal glands are about the walnut-sized shaped glands that sit on top of the kidneys, and they're responsible for coordinating your stress response. And the way they do that is the central nervous system signals to the glands to produce hormones to deal with the stressors. And there's a lot of different ways that we do it. The first way we do it is when you have that instantaneous rush of adrenaline. Let's say you almost got in a car accident or someone holds you up at gunpoint and you feel that instantaneous adrenaline rush. That's a neurological communication from your brain directly to the middle part of the adrenal glands called the adrenal medulla. And what that does is that secretes your catecholamines. And your catecholamines are a neurotransmitter that are responsible for instantaneous fight or flight responses. So it increases your blood pressure, it increases your heart rate, it increases your energy production. It allows you to basically get into that sympathetic mode of fight or flight or flee and move because your survival is on the line here. A little while later, let's say about 30 seconds later, then the brain sends a chemical from the hypothalamus to the pituitary, and via ACTH, a hormone that the pituitary makes, that causes the adrenal glands to make cortisol or aldosterone or DHEA, depending on the phase of stress and how long it's been going on. But typically we think about cortisol, and cortisol is considered a glucocorticoid hormone, which ultimately helps to signal DNA pathways to use glucose for energy, for immediate services and immediate purposes. So once you've had that adrenaline spike, your heart rate is elevated, your breathing rate is increased, then you need to sort of switch gears like a clutch switches gears in a standard vehicle, and that's what the cortisol does and comes in and is able to down-regulate that response and bring things back to normal. What happens is, though, the problem is that the adrenal glands don't necessarily fatigue. And the reason why it's so controversial is because it's a very rare condition when they do fatigue, and that's called adrenal insufficiency. And adrenal insufficiency was a condition that was classified in the 1800s by Dr. Addison, and he coined the term, sure enough, Addison's disease. And Addison's disease is adrenal insufficiency, where your adrenals don't produce enough cortisol to go above a baseline amount. And that is considered an autoimmune condition where only 1 in 100,000 people have this condition. So when you go to your doctor and you say, I have this adrenal fatigue thing, or I read that there's this thing called adrenal fatigue, A, they're not taught it in medical school or in the curriculum. B, it's not in the literature or the research journals that peer-reviewed journals are made about medical advances. and see your adrenal glands aren't fatigued. They're making enough cortisol to reach a baseline, albeit it's not a copious amount or an abundant amount of cortisol, but it's still not below the level that you need to have it to be considered an adrenal insufficiency problem. So does that mean that you are not feeling what you're feeling? Does that mean that your problem is not real? This is where the controversy lies, because just because you don't have an adrenal insufficiency doesn't necessarily mean you don't have the awful feelings that you're feeling. So what are these feelings? Well, these feelings are things that are related to energy, or things that are related to your circadian rhythm or your hormones. So let's be more specific. You wake up, you don't have a lot of energy. You don't feel like you have a lot of energy for the rest of the day. You don't sleep, you don't fall asleep, you don't stay asleep, you don't wake up feeling recharged. Your circadian rhythm might be upside down. So when you wake up in the morning, you're exhausted, or you crash in the middle of the day, or at nighttime, you're just getting your speed and you have a little bit more energy. The hormone component is you don't have libido, you don't have motivation, you don't have drive, you don't feel the oomph or the pep in your step, or you don't have the desire for exercise, or you're very weak, or when you do exercise, you don't bounce back quickly. You don't handle stress well. Maybe you get panicky or anxious. You have an inappropriate response to a stressor. So if someone comes behind you and you didn't see them, it could really cause you to experience that fight or flight mechanism and that heart rate. Or if you hear a loud sound or a bright noise, it can be very overstimulating for you. And once again, you're considered faking it, or you're being told that your blood tests are normal. There's no such thing as adrenal fatigue. And it's a real shame, because the reality is when you have repetitive stressors over a long period of time, your body loses the ability to handle that stress response. It loses its resiliency and its reserves. And now your body is exhausted and burnt out, but your adrenal glands are producing above and beyond the baseline. Hey, if you're getting a lot of value from this so far, make sure you go ahead and you punch that like button, or you go ahead and you subscribe to our video, and be sure that you hear the alarm for when we give you new updated videos along the way. What I want to talk to you though is the key differences between adrenal insufficiency and the adrenal fatigue, and the reason why I don't like the term HPA axis dysfunction. So in the meantime, make sure that you check out our next video, and I look forward to seeing you on the other side. Hey there, I hope you're getting tremendous value out of our videos. If you are, make sure you like our videos, subscribe to our YouTube channel, turn on your alert buttons, and then check out the description below, because I have a free masterclass that will teach you how to 10x your energy levels in the next 12 weeks and finally end your energy and exhaustion nightmare.